and welcome to Members on the Mic with the Troy Chamber of Commerce, where we connect with local Troy Chamber members as they give us a glimpse into their company and share some of the business lessons they've learned along the way. Hi, everyone. I'm Tara Thompson-Cusack, President and CEO of the Troy Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined today by our lovely co-host and Vice President of the Chamber, Sheila Denstead.
Hi, everyone.
First, I'd like to take a moment to thank our presenting sponsor, Trion Solutions. Stay tuned for our very first commercial break where you can learn how you can rely on Trion. So Sheila, we have a great guest ahead of us today. Why don't we do some intros?
I would absolutely love to. Today we're meeting with Manda Ayoub, Chief Operating Officer of Pomeroy Living. She brings over 30 years of experience in the healthcare industry. How it's 30 years, I'm not sure. Manda oversees the operations and outcomes of the clinical team while ensuring regulatory compliance. Among her many responsibilities, Manda is particularly passionate about team building, system implementation, and education. Her dedication to healthcare began early in her career as a nursing assistant, where she discovered her true caring for those in need. As she advanced in her career, she held various leadership roles, including infection control nurse, in-service director, quality assurance director, licensed nursing home administrator, and risk manager. Since joining Pomeroy Living in 2011, Manda has played a pivotal role in opening 2 state-of-the-art assisted living communities and integrating newly acquired properties into the Pomeroy portfolio and business model. She has also spearheaded numerous healthcare initiatives that have significantly improved patient outcomes and elevated the quality of Pomeroy Living's skilled care in Rochester and Pomeroy Living in Sterling Heights. Also, Manda resides in the great city of Troy, Michigan with her husband. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So obviously it's great to see you again. I'm a huge fan of senior living. Personally, I'm a person who thinks I want to be around other people. I want to feel the joy. I actually think that's fantastic, and I will be the first person signing up. But for a lot of people, it's scary, and it's a big transition in lives. How does one go about saying it's time to move into senior living, even from an adult child perspective, or maybe you're the senior as well? When is the right time, I guess is the question.
The right time is so different for everyone.
Yeah.
Right? But people are waiting too long and they're missing the companionship they could have, right? So we're seeing people come into this setting much later. Sometimes it's too late for them to really embrace the friendships that are created for some. And the engagement. Isolation is the worst thing that happens to humans. And as we lose our people, right, as we age, we lose spouses, sometimes even our children, and our friends. And so isolation is a real thing and it's a real problem. And I think walking in, I think you should be open to starting looking now. Like, yeah. I'm in my 50s. I've already kind of come up with my plan, because I know the great things that can happen. And when we talk about senior living, it's 55. It's a 55 and over community. I hate that we're calling 55 senior because
we will not call it in this room.
I don't think we should, but it's really about we've done the work, we should reap the rewards, right? Yeah. We should be cared for. We should be pampered. I should live in an environment where they'll clean my home, prepare my meals, still have the independence to lock my door when I don't want to be with people, but go to happy hour every night with people that I live in the same community with, and go to workout classes where you don't have to get in your car and drive. You know, having your podiatrist come to you, having audiology come to you, your beauty salon right there. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want to benefit from that? I'm all in. I'm ready.
Well, and loneliness is a factor. And
loneliness is huge.
You do see seniors going in at a stage where they're like, okay, now my family won't take care of me now. But that's not the point. Like you
shouldn't wait that long.
You have so much joy that you can still get while you're ready and you're actually at a proper health, and you can still go through the continuum of care.
That's right.
In senior living, which is you don't have to also have that fear in your stomach.
That's right. And when you're in the Pomeroy family, you're in the Pomeroy family. So if you come into our independent livings and you're living your best life, and life happens and you fall and you break your hip, you get priority in our rehabs, right? You get priority. And then if you can't go back to independent, you get priority in our assisteds. And so, you know, assisted living is still as much fun as independent living is, but there's services there, right? We're going to help you get dressed. We're going to help you at shower time. We're going to make sure you're eating your meals. We're not going to have you cooking your meals. And independent, you still have a full laundry, a full kitchen. So if you don't want to get your meals in, the restaurant style dining, you can stay home.
And your friends are still down the hall.
And they're still down the hall. And everyone, you should go to happy hour. It's like Cheers. Everyone knows everyone's name. They all have their own seating.
Sheila, I think we just got invited.
I think you are. We have karaoke once a week. We have a big entertainer come out, and it's a fun place, and it should be fun. They're doing this travel around the world every month. They go somewhere different. You should see the decor they put up. They actually have passports that they stamp as they go to different countries. And then
Love it.
they use virtual reality headsets, and it can take them back to the street they lived on so they can walk up and down the street, or it could take them to Japan.
Wow.
It is so amazing, right? It's embracing where you are and having fun. Why does getting old have to be a dirty word?
I've wondered that for years.
That's right. It shouldn't.
agree.
We
No,
should
it shouldn't.
embrace it. It should be elevated, and it should be done well.
We owe that to them.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
Going a little bit of a different direction. As a chief operating officer, you make a lot of hard decisions. How do you deal with those when there isn't always a perfect option?
Well, we deal with human life, so there's never really always that perfect option, right? I think that we have to kind of just be willing to say whatever it is that has to be done. And sometimes that's, we can't take this person who wants to live in our community because we can't meet their need, right? And that, most businesses would say, you never say no. Well, I think you should. I think you should say no when it's not the right fit, when you can't do it well. And I think we have to be honest with that, right? There's a lot of senior livings popping up. They're all over the place. Where did they come from? Are they doing it with heart? Are they doing it with care? Or is this just a business, right? Pomeroy Living's been around for 35 plus years. We're not new to the industry. Keith Pomeroy, who is our local owner operator, cares about, quality care for seniors. Both of his parents were in our communities. Both of them passed with us. And both of them had elevated service during their final days, as they should, right? There's a way to honor life. And that means being true to self and not making decisions just off of finance, right? Just do the right thing, even when no one's watching. It all turns out okay.
It's so important. I think that's the key. Do what's right when no one's watching.
Well, guys, I think this is a good moment to take a quick break and hear a word from our presenting sponsor, Trion Solutions. We'll be right back.
I'm Joe Vicari, President and CEO of the Joe Vicari Restaurant Group, which encompasses 24 restaurants throughout the country. With the addition of Trion, our general managers don't have to spend hours doing paperwork and putting people in our system. All that's done by Trion now, so they can work on what they are there to do, take care of our customers. That's why we rely on Trion.
You can always rely on Trion.
Welcome back to Members on the Mic with the Troy Chamber of Commerce. We are here with Manda from Pomeroy Living. So you brought up a good point earlier. You're saying that senior living places are popping up everywhere. And I don't think I can drive down a street without seeing a new one pop up. So with that being said, how do you stay competitive within the market? Or is competitive even the right word? I think you're looking at more, it's a people product. So
Right.
How do you have everyone's attention, or why would people come to Pomeroy instead?
I think we don't really try and compete. I believe we try and set the bar and make everyone else reach us. So, and I say that because I think earlier we talked about doing the right thing even when no one's watching.
Yeah.
So the state of Michigan approved this licensed home for the aged for assisted living. And they approved a waiver program. So these buildings don't have to be built to the same standard. They don't get surveyed the same way. And now currently in Michigan, there are more waiver beds than licensed beds.
Really?
There are. And so we continue to do the right thing even when no one's watching, right? We could easily unlicense our beds and just say we're a true assisted living when we're not. But we are a true assisted living. We're regulated, we're monitored. If you have a bad experience and you want to call the state of Michigan, they will come out and investigate. A news article just came out the other day. An assisted living someone was injured and they called the state, and the state's like, well, we don't actually monitor them. And there was no recourse for their loved one. And that's a horrible feeling, right? And so just because something pops up, know a little bit about them.
Yeah.
Do your research. Walk in, tour, see how the residents are treated. See how, when you tour, do the people that live there, do they look like they're engaged and having a great time? Come have a meal. Yeah, schedule your tour, but then stop in unscheduled and see what it looks like and feels like. And, ask, are they licensed? And then check their license out online. And if there's not a yearly inspection, then they're waivered. And do you put vulnerable adults in a system with no regulation? Everything is regulated. How are we thinking this is a good thing?
Mm-hmm.
So just because there's a lot of them, I think I saw a social media clip the other day. You want to make extra money? Open up a senior living. And I was like, oh my God, there is so much that goes into what we do, right?
It's not a fast food restaurant.
It is not there is no cookie cutter recipe. Like, I have 7 communities. All of them are slightly different based off of their population. There is some things that do not change. There are some policies that'll never change, but you have to speak to your customer. And if your customers are different, you have to be willing to negotiate those differences. You're opening up a healthcare company with no healthcare knowledge.
That's scary.
I mean, we have tool and die guys who have now built buildings and construction guys who have now built buildings. And that scares me.
Mm-hmm.
So I beg the consumer, be informed.
Sorry, I am really.
It's like,
So you've talked a lot about different, like, accountability. Within your organization, what does it really look like taking accountability into account?
My teams will laugh. They've actually tried to turn it into a drinking game because I use the word validation a lot. And so they say whenever she says validate, we're all going to drink. But
To know.
and we can do this at the happy hour. She
I
invited
think we
us
could.
to.
But I think validation is critical, right? We handle human life. Shouldn't somebody be validating that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing? Same with a licensing issue, right? That we just talked about.
Yeah.
It's about having some validation, some checks and balances. And it's about a little bit of radical candor, right? It's about being honest. It's okay if an employee messes up, right? People err. Not addressing it or being honest about it is the problem. We have to be radically candor. We have to say that thing that makes people uncomfortable. You don't have to berate a person when they're failing. You can have a tough conversation at this exact same tone, right? And them still understand that the error was impactful and that they can't do it again. And sometimes it's that you're parting ways, right? But be honest. You can be honest and respectful in the same breath.
Well, and it's a part of accountability.
It is.
We're all going to make mistakes in this world. And that's nature. It's
We
who
all
we
err.
are.
Exactly.
But be accountable to those. And sometimes if you're not even addressing those, how do they even know when they're supposed to be accountable? Or is just this become a new habit?
That's why I tell my teams all the time. We err. How we respond will define us.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you accept will set your example. So those are important things that we have to do, and we have to do well all the time. And so I say validate a lot. And so
Oh, was I
time
supposed
for
to take
shot.
a drink? I'm
Yes,
sorry. Okay.
time for shot.
So we're talking a lot about operations and things of that nature. What advice do you give to, so you're operationally, obviously you've been doing this, so it's great, but what operational advice do you give to those who might be struggling with their operations or maybe not staying abreast of things that need to get changed?
I think when you're in ops, you have to be ready to change all the time. Keeping your teams informed and educated. My life is healthcare, right? So people have pastimes and things they do. I read healthcare magazines. I mean,
You're a great time.
I'm sure people hate talking to me because everything somehow or another revolves back to healthcare for me. So I think just being passionate about what you do and staying on top of it, right? It's about getting the virtual reality into senior living. It's about getting AI, right, to help monitor health outcomes. I don't want it to take my staff's jobs. I want it to say, hey, get eyes on this patient, potentially not doing well, right? because at times they're residents, but at times they're patients because there's a clinical need. And so, when they're in my skilled rehab or short-term rehab and they're there post-hip or knee fracture or there for IV antibiotics due to an infection, if my AI can trigger that their heart rate is starting to slowly change and I can get ahead of it, why wouldn't I embrace that technology, right? So when life changes, which it does every day, you can't run from the change, right? It's like the Who Moved My Cheese book. We're going back to the 80s, I think, right? But there's truth in that. Things move and you have to be willing to change. And if you're not, your business will die. That's just life. So embrace it, run into it, and don't run from it.
Yes, and yes, and yes.
Yeah.
This is a point where I usually ask for one last nugget. My thought being on everything we've talked about today, what could you tell our listeners that may have to have a difficult discussion with a family member about going into assisted living or skilled living or something like that? What's that first step they should take, or how should they go about that?
So I'll give you an example. How's that?
Okay.
My father wanted to, well, actually I'll do my mom because she's stubborn. And I think that's important, right? That's the tougher one.
pride.
My dad is very easygoing. My mom is hard to convince. She needed a knee replacement. She didn't want it. She didn't want to go through surgery. And I said, I totally understand. Your knee is totally shattered. She was no longer walking. She was sitting on the couch most of the day. She was using a walker that she found that my grandma had prior to her passing. And so it wasn't even really fitted for her. Her daughter runs a senior living company, won't let me help. So I said, okay, what we're going to have to do is I'm going to have to get a nurse in to teach Dad how to toilet you because eventually you won't be able to walk. And so that when it's time, he'll be able to take you to the bathroom because, we're all working and we can't do that around the clock. And she was like, oh, okay. And then we got off the phone. And the next day she called me. She said, I think I want to have the knee replacement surgery. And so sometimes I think it's just giving people their options, right? It doesn't always have to be like that, right? My dad fell, hit his head. And I said, I think we need to go to the ER. And he said, nah, I'm fine. And I said, well, I'm going to let you know the potential is your brain could have a small bleed in it. And if it does, you may not wake up in the morning. And he said, all right, let's go to the ER, right? Give people their options with the outcome potential. Staying at home, you could get injured and be on the floor for days and no one would know. But if you're in a senior living community, there's a process to be checked on every day by 11, right? So there's safeguards in place. Does that mean nothing will ever happen? No. But will you be left in your room for 3 days on the floor and no one notice? No.
But you're also giving them the choice.
Right.
Because there's nothing worse than saying as an adult, I'm now your boss. I may be your child, but now I'm in charge of what you do.
I don't make any decisions for them.
And that's not the reality. The reality is giving the options and saying, this is still your choice, but I hope you make the one that makes the most sense.
Right. And I don't even say that because once I do, then they
they
think,
know you already.
Right. So I just basically tell them this is what could happen. And we do the same thing currently with some of our residents. Some of them make poor decisions for their own health, right? Mm-hmm. So in my skilled building where they are more patients than residents, I have diabetics who will decide they want chocolate cake. Well, you know what? They're 92. They want chocolate cake. I just do a teaching that says, hey, you can have chocolate cake, but please know that this is going to affect your insulin level. Mm-hmm. And diabetic coma is always a potential. We will monitor your insulin and we'll give you a sliding scale if needed, but we make them sign the document so that we prove that we've educated them and the decision is still theirs. They're adults. They should be able to I make bad decisions. We all make bad decisions some days. We should be allowed that. It's our freedom of choice, but we have an obligation to teach and educate the outcomes of the decisions. And so that's how I think we should have all tough conversations with this is the outcome. I mean, even with our kids, right? Mm-hmm. Sure, you can stay up later your options are clean your room or read a book. And then they usually say, I think I'll go to bed. Right? So give everyone the option, let them make their choice.
Making a note.
Yes.
Sheila will be taking that one home with her. So, Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. We obviously appreciate you, and we love that. We've loved working with you guys for over the years, and we know what you guys are doing for our community. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having us. It was my honor to be here.
And that's all we have here today on Members of the Mic with the Troy Chamber of Commerce. Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Trion Solutions. To learn more about the Troy Chamber or for upcoming events, go to troychamber.com. Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.